Okay, everyone, welcome to Speech and Debate Introductory Skills, presented by me through Design Your Careers. So, like I said, this workshop is presented by Design Your Careers. They're a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 nonprofit, and they conduct hands-on free workshops that allow people to showcase their talents and their skills. So you can go to their website at designyourcareers.org or check out some of their videos if you want to get some more information. Here's their community impact in numbers. Once again, I think you can see this at designyourcareers.org. So I'm Imraan Mohammed. I'm in 9th grade now. I'm part of my school speech and debate program. I compete in the original oratory event for this year. And I'll be presenting this. So for this workshop, you're gonna learn about speech and debate, its benefits, the different events that are offered, and how to prepare for a speech and debate event, as well as how to get started with the speech and debate program. So the first thing we're going to go over is what is speech and debate. So speech and debate, it's an extracurricular activity. And one of the main benefits is allowing students to develop public speaking, argumentation, and critical thinking skills. It can improve communication skills and develop confidence, as well as teach students how to present their ideas. They're found throughout various schools around the US, and they can teach students how to speak publicly, as well as participate in persuasive speaking through many different events. So we're going to go ahead and go into the benefits a little more here. So participating in speech and debate for students, it offers a range of benefits. It can help them develop critical thinking skills. A lot of speech and debate can mean that you'll have to research and analyze different topics, even if you're writing something originally. It can help students develop confidence in general, self-confidence, and confidence in their ability to communicate. This is especially helpful in the real world. Speech and debate can also be valuable if you're interested in pursuing careers in fields that require stronger communication skills. So speech and debate are often put together, but I want to establish what the difference is between the two terms. So in speech, you're going to have one person that's sharing their idea, typically to an audience, and they're trying to persuade the audience or convey their idea to the audience or educate the audience. Debate, on the other hand, you're going to have two people or groups of people or multiple groups of people arguing for very specific points of view on a certain topic, respectively. So speech is more audience oriented, whereas debate is more oriented towards the judges. There could be some audience participation, but speeches are generally more audience oriented, while in debate, you're directing your arguments towards the other team or towards a panel of judges. In addition, debate tends to be competitive and more persuasive. Speeches can also be persuasive, but they can also be more convincing or more to educate people. And speech also tends to be more original than debate, whereas debate can be more oriented on facts or evidence. And debate can be more open, but speech tends to be aimed more towards like-minded people, again, for education or for persuasion. So in a speech and debate program, you're going to have many different things of what's known as events. So events are just different ways in which you can participate in speech and debate. So in the speech category of speech and debate, there are different events because there's different ways you can give a speech per se. So it's it refers to a specific category of speech and debate, a specific manner in which you can debate, or a specific category in which you can give a speech. Because even though it might not seem like it, there are different ways to debate and different ways to give a speech. So when we're talking about speech events, you have two types of events. Again, this is for speech events only, not for debate events. But in speech events, you have public address events and interrupt events. So public address events, those are what you would stereotypically think of if you're thinking about speech and debate and giving a speech. So they'll include a speech that's either prepared or written with limited preparation, and that's just given to an audience. What you would normally think of when you think of giving a speech. It can be persuasion, education, or for another reason. Interrupt events, they're somewhat complicated, but you take a different piece of media and convert it into another piece of media. So, for example, you can take something like a book and convert it into a play. So the book is already published material. You are not necessarily making original material, but you're converting it into a play. That's the original part. So yeah, that's speech events. Public address events tend to be more common, but interrupt events can also be participated in, just depending on what you think your strengths are. So the National Speech and Debate Association, they are generally what runs the speech and debate programs in schools across the country. So they will have tournaments, and they're sort of the official authority for speech and debate. So all of these are speech and debate events that they offer. Now, I'm not going to go over all of the different speech events that are offered, but so these are your interrupt events and your public address events. So your interrupt events, for example, you could have dramatic interpretation, which is where you take an already published piece of material and you interpret it into a drama. There's also duo interpretation, humorous interpretation, poetry, prose, storytelling. So these can really break the boundaries on what it means to give a speech. Duo interpretation is when you'll have two people. That's sort of pretty unique in terms of speech and debate, but it exists. So these are all our public address events. They're pretty common. I would like to go over the original oratory and impromptu events, as those are the most commonly participated in. So original oratory is what you think of when you give a speech. So you can write a speech on basically any topic and just give it. It's typically it'll typically be around 10 minutes long. Impromptu speeches are where you're told to write a speech either on a broad topic or something narrow, so you're given a topic and then you have a limited amount of preparation to write your speech. So yeah, you have to write a speech in a set amount of time. You're not given all of the preparation time that OO or original oratory gives you. You can see you have all of these different abbreviations, but those are commonly used throughout the speech and debate community. So once again, you have interp events and public address events. Again, interp, you're converting a piece of media into a different piece of media. Public address, you are giving a speech in some way. So impromptu, OO, and yeah, here are some examples of interp. So our debate events are so here are the debate events. Some common ones are Lincoln Douglas and extemp. I think policy debate. Yeah, the three of those are the most common: Lincoln Douglas debate, extemporis, and policy debate. You have all of these, but I'm going to give you an example with congressional debate, for example. So in congressional debate, you'll have a group of people that are sort of meant to represent the US legislature, and they'll work to pass legislatures or resolutions, and those can either be accepted or rejected, and they'll send representatives to give speeches about those legislatures and about those resolutions. But this is more of an unconventional one. But I believe Lincoln Douglas is more one-on-one. But yeah, that's an example of how really varied all the different debate events can be. Like, they're not all the same. Like, they can have very different formats. It just depends on what you want to participate in and what you feel that you want to participate in. So choosing a topic. So when you're choosing a topic, you want that topic to be debatable and broad. If you have a broad topic, it's going to allow you to elaborate on the topic and maybe get into certain specific points on the topic. You don't want it to be too broad, but it also can't be too specific. You can have a broad topic per se, and then you can get into the specifics in your speech. So you don't want to limit yourself to the specifics when you're writing your speech. So it does definitely need to be debatable, meaning there needs to be different points of views that can be taken on the topic. That way you can argue for one of them. Yeah, so if it's debatable, it needs to have clear points of view that can be taken, or it needs to be controversial even. If it's broad, your audience will be engaged. And if it's debatable, that'll also help in terms of audience engagement. When you're choosing a topic, you want to look at these 5 factors: APTKR, audience, purpose, time, knowledge, relevance. So audience is that's not really in your control, but you want to make sure that your audience is able to understand it. And yeah, it's easy to understand for someone who might not know a lot about the topic, or who doesn't know anything about the topic. Again, purpose, you're going to want to make sure it's generally fits within what you're going for, and you're going to want to identify your purpose. So to educate or to persuade, etc., etc. Your time, you're going to want to make sure it fits in your 10-minute time frame or whatever time you have. It's going to be different from event to event. You're going to want to make sure that your speech is timed well, in that your speech is structured. It's correct. Like you don't have a conclusion that's excessively long, and then the rest of your speech is maybe too short. So you're going to want to have a nice divide and a good format. Knowledge, you're going to want to really take into consideration, what does your audience know about this topic? Is it something that people know about? Is it something that people have a lot of assumptions about? What do people in general, who might not have a lot of knowledge, who might be new to the topic, might not have explored the topic in depth before, what kind of knowledge they have about the topic? And what do they know about the topic, and what are their perceptions about the topic, right? And relevance, I mean, a lot of events, some events will restrict what you can write in your speech. So make sure that your speech is within those guidelines and really conforms to the topic, that it doesn't stray off the topic or get irrelevant. But some events will be more free in terms of what you can write about. But yeah, relevance really just depends on what event you're in. So it just differs from event to event, really. So when you're writing your speech, you're going to have this really long speech, and you're obviously going to want to divide it. So you're going to want to have a hook, thesis, examples or stories, and then a conclusion. So the main part of your speech is going to be talking about examples or stories or something like that. So but the main thing is they're going to tie into your main point. So like your example could use facts or figures, or a story could be trying to teach a lesson, but they're all going to tie in, and you're going to want these stories to tie into each other and tie in with your thesis as well. So when you have your speech, you're going to want to have a hook. So when you have your speech, you're going to want to have your hook first. And that hook should ideally be something unrelated to the speech, but something that you can relate to the speech. It should be something that audiences are familiar with and that they understand fully. That way you can use that as a bouncing point almost for your speech and for your topic, especially if your topic is advanced or not many people know about it. Now, the thing that a lot of people miss is a transition. So between your hook and your thesis, you're going to want to transition. You're going to want to explain, how does your hook connect to your thesis? This will ensure that your audience has a better understanding of your topic and truly understands what is being said. So your thesis, after that, you don't want your thesis to be too constrained. Again, your thesis should be prepared ahead of time or given to you in some events. Just depends on the event again. But you're going to want your thesis to not say, oh, my thesis is what this speech is about, but just indirectly state it, but keep it clear as well. So yeah, have a nice thesis that isn't too obvious or isn't too, as this will make it seem more advanced. So yeah, so you're going to want to have a hook, a nice transition into your thesis, which should allow you, and that transition, it's forgotten a lot in a lot of speeches, but it should ensure that your audience truly understands the topic and understands how your hook connects to your thesis, and how the hook, which should ideally consist of something that they know about, connects to your thesis, which is something that they might not know a lot about. So your hook should connect to your thesis. That's going to greatly improve audience understanding. So the hook and the thesis should have that strong connection where your audience is able to understand your topic better. Now, the last thing is your conclusion. Now, your conclusion should summarize your speech, but it should also show how your topic ties back into your thesis. Now, you can have little sub-conclusions when you're providing different examples or different stories. This way, the audience understands the meaning of each of your examples and each of your stories. But typically, you're going to want to have a conclusion that isn't too long. You don't want it to be too obvious, but that's still adequate and connects back to your hook. That way your audience is remembered by the hook and takes away that whole speech with them and takes away the main idea. Delivery. So to learn about delivery, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys some short clips, and we're going to try and figure out what exactly are the differences between them and what makes speech delivery good. So I'm going to present these. So first, we're going to start off with a sort of bad public speaking example where the delivery isn't great and the speech could greatly be improved if the delivery was better. We're just going to watch a short excerpt.
So the Excel Center, my presentation is on the Excel Center. It's the Center of Excellence in Student Leadership. They do a lot of things like um, they have a public speaking lab, and they uh, do consultation. They have teams, and they're the consultation team and the workshop team, and these teams, the consultation team does they consult student organization on campus. The workshop team present workshops. Um, so
Okay, so for our next one, we're going to take a look at a good public speaking example. One where the delivery is good and that enhances the speech and truly makes the audience more engaged, is confidence. It's going to have this range of benefits that you're going to see as sort of the audience.
Be honest. You enjoyed that, didn't you? Now, please do me a favor. Recite that entire title off the top of your head right now. Go. Not all at once. Wait a minute. Do you mean to tell me that you cannot remember all 57 of the words in that title? Neither can I. But do you know what that proves? Just because you say more doesn't mean people will remember what you say. Thank you, contest chair, Toastmasters, and guests.
Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and look at and highlight the key differences between these two presentations and what makes the delivery of one presentation, one speech, better than the delivery of the other presentation. So, okay. So, you might not have noticed, but there are 10 main factors in speech delivery: pacing, tone, pronunciation, volume, clarity, fluency, eye contact, posture, facial expressions, and hand or arm gestures. So these 10 main factors, they are all working towards a common goal, and that is making you seem and sound more confident. All of these factors give you a range of benefits. For example, sounding more knowledgeable about your topic. Your audience engagement is going to increase. What your audience takes away is going to increase. Your speech is going to sound better. Your topic is going to get there better. The points you're giving in your speech, it's going to be received by the audience better, and the audience is going to remember it better. So pacing And pacing, tone, pronunciation, volume, clarity, fluency. All of those are vocal indications. They mean that you should talk at a reasonable pace with the right tone, heavy pronunciation, with volume, with a loud volume, while being clear and fluent. So your tone is going to differ throughout your speech, depending on what is being said in your speech or what's happening in your speech, depending on emotion or something else. Your pacing is generally going to be the same, but you can see in the video that he had a long pause at the beginning. Again, that's a difference in pacing depending on the speech. That's also there too. Pronunciation, you're going to want to pronounce your words. This ensures that the audience can hear you on top of volume, and that your audience understands you, understands the speech, and is able to take away more. Your volume needs to be loud. That's pretty self-explanatory, but your volume can fluctuate depending on what is being said. Clarity and fluency are just general, meaning you probably noticed in the first speech there were a lot of filler words, but in the second speech there weren't. That's part of clarity and fluency. That's just ensuring that the audience isn't distracted by an unclear speech and can clearly understand your speech and understand all of the different points that are being made. Eye contact, posture, facial expressions, and hand-arm gestures, these are auxiliary. These are your physical language. They convey more stuff about you. Like they convey how confident you are, how knowledgeable are you, why should the audience listen to you, how engaged should they be. All of this is conveyed through these auxiliary physical traits. Good eye contact, good posture, good facial expressions, and good hand-arm gestures could mean that your audience is more engaged and could mean that your audience takes away the speech better. Hand-arm gestures, they don't need to be specific hand-arm gestures per se, but they should just add ideas to the speech as necessary. Facial expressions change, but they help convey points in your speech and help convey what you want the audience to take away. Posture and eye contact just help you seem more confident, more engaged, and therefore helping the audience be more engaged. So while you don't need all of these in your speech, these are good things to practice and keep in mind. This is also during debate, because if you speak during debate, you'll seem more confident, your points will get better, and you'll seem better to the other team as well as to the judges. So having this during both speech and debate is important, and this should definitely be practiced before you're giving a speech or before you're participating in a debate tournament. So while you don't need all of these, ensure that you at least have some of them when speaking. So now we're going to go ahead and shift our focus towards more debate. So debating is different in that it's more of a conversation, but how do you make that conversation formal? How do you take it up a level? Well, debate includes rebuttals, and these rebuttals help you convey your point more accurately. In a speech, you're only conveying your point, but in debate, you're looking at the other person's point, and both points are going against each other at the same time. Having this can really improve the authenticity of what you're saying and the different points of view that are being offered. So debating can allow you to convey your ideas in a better way and can develop self-esteem, critical thinking, and reasoning skills. So debate is a more formal way of communicating that encourages people to be open and have consideration for other points of views. And they could allow you to have a more formal conversation. So we went over preparing a speech, but when you're preparing a debate, you want to make sure your points are clear, relevant, and easy to understand. So these were the same things about the speech topics. So I covered that it should be debatable and relevant, and that your topic should be engaging to the audience as well. But and that your topic should be broad. In debate, you're not going to be able to choose your topic, but that does not mean that you can't make good points. If you have clear, relevant points, it's going to be easier for the audience to understand your point of view and make your argument seem easier to understand. For example, you could use verbal illustrations or analogies which compare certain advanced topics to everyday things to help you present and develop your argument and to ensure that the audience understands your topic better. Now, debaters ask why they like how many points they need, but there isn't a right or wrong answer about that. You just need to ensure that each of your points is adequately explored and explained to ensure that your audience can understand that your point comes across in the right way. So now we talked about planning for speech. Now, planning for a speech is typically easier, but in debate, sometimes some events are one-on-one, like the Lincoln Douglas, but other debates are in teams. So if you're in teams, you're going to want to speak with your team and ensure that you and the rest of your team are in harmony with each other, that you guys are working with each other, and that you work together to ensure that your argument is presented across well and that the audience understands, and that you convey your points in the correct way. So you can do this by meeting with them and ensuring that your speeches are aligned with each other. So in debate, it's often like mini speech writing, where you're going to have to write a speech in debate. So you're going to have to write mini speeches about your points. While it's not going to be fully rehearsed and everything, writing a speech allows you to plan out what you're going to do and ensure that your idea comes across smoothly. And you're going to want to ensure that you know your vocabulary and you know what you're talking about. So have that quality research and don't be afraid to ask for help. So doing all of these things can help you plan better for your argument. So if you're when you're developing your case, you're going to want to think before you research. So just get a brief overview of the topic, because a lot of times in debate, you're not going to be able to pick your own topic. It'll be given to you by someone else. You can make suggestions maybe, but it's ultimately not completely your choice what topic you get or what topic you're going to debate about. So the topic you're going to debate about, you're going to want to look into it first, but then you're going to think about the points that you're going to present. How familiar are you with it? And how are you going to think this up? How are you going to research this? How are you going to debate this out? Only after you think, then you're going to go in with the research, and you can't change your plan, but just ensure that you have a good idea of what you want to do before you start researching. And then you can look for evidence and refine your points and start looking at your actual points. So most events will not allow like notes or index cards, but if you're going to use cue cards either during speech or during debate, it's good to have some information. So obviously using index cards is better because a lot of speakers will have their speech memorized and they'll know the details, but they'll just need that boost on what they should, like the main ideas. So just keep the main ideas down. Don't try and write everything, obviously, but you can write the main ideas and write the outline of what you think you're going to have. Make sure you keep your notes organized and that you use them to your advantage and that you optimize them for you and for your team. So again, most events won't allow cue cards or notes. Most formal tournaments will not allow them, but if you're just practicing or if you're using informal or if you're not in a formal tournament, you can try and use cue cards. So in debate, timing is a big part. It's not as prevalent in speech, but it is important in debate as well. It's in speech, but it's also in debate more. You need to be confident of your timing. That's because a lot of debate tournaments will be very structured. So they'll have this many minutes for argument one, this many minutes for argument two, this many minutes for rebuttal, this. So the timing is very structured and very rigid. You're going to want to make sure that your timing is on par and on point. So practice is key here. Make sure you practice and that your timing is good. And if your speech is too short, or if what you're going to say is too short, rather than adding more points, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to expand on your points. And if it's too long, you're going to want to go ahead and eliminate some irrelevant information here. So body language, I did want to go a little more into depth with that because I feel I didn't go into depth with the speech delivery when I went over that. So again, all of this is working to make you seem more confident, more knowledgeable to the audience, and it's going to help the audience too. So make sure you have a confident stance. Make sure you maintain eye contact and only use hand gestures when necessary. You could really use hand gestures as much as you want. The audience will not pay attention to them per se, but they will be subtle cues as to what's going on. And they will subtly help you seem more knowledgeable, more confident. So all of this is going to work in your favor and into the audience's favor as well, whether subtly or actually. But ensure that you're at least aware of what's going on here with body language. So now we're going to go over what to expect when you're going to a tournament. So speech tournaments will typically consist of rounds, like a sort of soccer game or something like that. So you'll give your speech multiple times as you progress through the rounds. Now, not all rounds will have eliminations, but typically as the rounds progress, there'll be less and less people competing. Again, not all rounds will have eliminations, but you'll give your speech multiple times and you might end up giving it to a bigger crowd as you move forward and as eliminations continue to occur. Some tournaments can last multiple days, up to hours. So really just depends on the tournament. But yeah, you will give your speech multiple times and it's a round structure. So it's round structured. So debate tournaments are centered around judges. You'll debate against a team, or the debate will occur in whatever format it's supposed to occur in. Lincoln Douglas, you're going head to head. Congressional, it'll be different, but they will include rigid time periods where each thing, like a rebuttal or an argument made, will be put into a time slot. So it's very time centered and time structured. So it's very structured and there's not too much leeway. But once again, all of this can differ from event to event. It just depends what event you go into. You can learn more information about that. So how to get started. So I think I went over this briefly before, but the National Speech and Debate Association is the main authority for speech and debate. Though a lot of schools will sign up with them. That way they can go to their tournaments and they can get the official route. But Most schools will typically align with the events that the National Speech and Debate Association actually offers. But this will allow you to get into official tournaments. The best way to get into a speech and debate program is through your school, because the National Speech and Debate Association program, the National Speech and Debate Association, they go through schools. So just join your speech and debate program, that school speech and debate program, because that will allow you to receive help. It'll allow you to receive training, and it'll allow you to seamlessly join speech and debate and learn how to engage in speech and debate. So you can start your own speech and debate program at your school if your school already doesn't have one. So I would like to thank you all for listening. That is all that we have today. Again, this is presented by Design Your Careers. They're a great organization. So you can go to their website, learn more about them, or watch some of their videos, follow them on social media. But yeah, this is presented through Design Your Careers, so you can learn more about them. If there are no questions, then I would like to thank everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed this and learned information about speech and debate. And yeah, I hope this was informative. And thank you.